Best in the Big Ten. Welcome to the Voice of College Football as we break down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's because of you. Join our call-in shows throughout the week, our live streams, of course, on our team-specific channels right here at the Voice of College Football. Like the video, share the video out on social media, and subscribe right here. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. All right, let's get to it, starting at the bottom of the Big Ten with Rutgers. Yes, great start, Greg Schiano. You've done a nice job. They're not the laughingstock that they were a couple years ago, but they're not quite what we thought they might have been 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. Started at 3-0, most impressive win at this point against Syracuse, 17-7. Don't know if they would beat the Orange today, though. Now that they've stepped into Big Ten play after the nice effort at Michigan, it's been all downhill for Rutgers football, and most recently a 2-touchdown loss to what at times has looked like the worst team in the Big Ten, Northwestern. So Rutgers at number 14. Northwestern jumps Rutgers to number 13 because of the head-to-head win. Got to give it to the Wildcats with a 21-7 win over the Scarlet Knights. 3-4, 1-3 in the conference. They've got a day coming up with Minnesota. Of course, Northwestern played Michigan tough on Saturday. Close game into the third quarter, blown away late, 33-7, just couldn't create offense. Evan Hall had that 75-yard explosive play. That was it. Ryan Helinski, 14 of 29 through the air for the Wildcats. Number 12, Nebraska. They're starting to fall down the rankings. Got to beat somebody at this point is basically what Nebraska needs to do. They've got the huge 56-7 win against Northwestern, but they are otherwise king of the one-score losses, most notably and most recently against Minnesota, in which they were outcoached clearly in that game. And now Nebraska, 3-5, 1-4 in the Big Ten, has to take on Purdue in Lincoln. Illinois, this is a great spot for the Illini. Consider what they were facing this week. Coach Brett Bielema's comments challenged the team, were certainly controversial. If you don't know about it, check it out online. Brett Bielema targeting the offensive line in particular, but basically the talent level of his roster could have been taken a number of different ways. Brett Bielema, as a veteran coach, hit it head on. Showed the entire news conference to the team, addressed it, took care of it right there, and his team goes out and plays its best effort of the season by far, winning at Penn State in 9 overtimes. And they ran for 357 yards behind Chase Brown and Joshua McCrary in only throwing for 38. But that's Brett Bielema ball. That's what he's got with this team, limited in the passing game. So rely on the run and the defense, and they got it done. And they are now 2-3 in the Big Ten. And so it's Illinois-Rutgers coming up this week. At number 10, Indiana. We've got to take into consideration, even at 2-5 and 0-4 in the Big Ten, their schedule has been brutal. Consider that every team that they've played and lost to has been in the top 10 in the nation. Most notably and most recently, Ohio State, 54-7. They gave up 44 points in the first half, and they only were able to account for 128 yards of total offense. Jack Tuttle got the start in place of Michael Penix, of course, and Tuttle has been the number 2 guy for a few years now, the former 4-star out of Utah. But they also gave time to Donovan McCulley, who is a true freshman, and Grad Gemmel. So they went to 3 quarterbacks in this game and just no answers. Indiana goes to Maryland, and we'll now see with a drop in opponent's skill level and talent whether they can go on the road and take on a team that's probably on their level and win a game in the Big Ten. At number 9, the aforementioned Maryland Terps, 4-3, 1-3. So they got off, like Rutgers, to a great start non-conference, but had a more substantial win, at least at the time, in beating West Virginia. Now Maryland steps into conference play. They did beat Illinois, but otherwise they've been completely outclassed this past weekend against Minnesota, losing 34-16 in that game. Turnovers, penalties have riddled this team, and the rush defense this past weekend against the Gophers, 326 yards. Maryland takes on IU this Saturday. At number 8, a team that went from a high to a low in losing to Wisconsin. That's Purdue, of course, that went to Iowa, knocked off the second-ranked team in the country, but then they drop a huge one in the Big Ten Western Division on Saturday at home against Wisconsin. They just could not mount offense in a 30-13 loss in this one. David Bell had 6 catches for only 33 yards there. Great receiver, and Purdue falls to 4-3. They go to Nebraska this Saturday. At number 7, the team that's been forgotten in the Western Division race with Iowa marking those wins against Penn State and Iowa State, and everybody focused on Iowa. And then Purdue got into the mix, of course, with a win against Iowa. People considering Minnesota, but keep in mind, Wisconsin's lost an out-of-conference game against Notre Dame. Doesn't count toward what's going on in the conference. They lost their 2 conference games out of division. They've got everything in front of them, and they knocked out one big hurdle in going to Purdue and winning 30-13 in that game. So Wisconsin ran it 51 times, only passed it 8 times with Graham Mertz against the Boilers. They didn't have to throw it. They ran for 290 yards, and they held Purdue to 22 yards rushing on 20 carries. Wisconsin, the number 7 team in the Big Ten right now, at 4-3, 2-2 in the conference, and they've got a huge must-win situation against Iowa at Camp Randall Stadium on Saturday. We continue through our Big Ten power rankings just based solely on who I think are the best. 1 to 14, and Minnesota right now is at number 6, coming off a substantial win against Maryland. I mentioned the 326 rushing yards. It's amazing that they lost their number 1 and 2 running backs, Ibrahim and Potts. Now they're relying on 3, 4, and 5 and Kai Thomas, Marquise Irving, also Bryce Williams, who gained 127 yards the week before, but the other 2 guys had 100 yards this past. So they're 5 deep now in running backs, and all these guys have gained 100 yards. So the offensive line, that's what that's telling all of us. The offensive line is a veteran group for Minnesota getting the job done. And again, the mystery loss to Bowling Green aside, this team otherwise would be 6-1 and maybe a top 15 team in the country. Their other loss, of course, against Ohio State, nothing to be ashamed of, by 2 touchdowns in a close game most of the way. Minnesota at Northwestern this Saturday at 5-2. Penn State, the big loser on the weekend, of course. Nittany Lions ready to face that gauntlet. Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. That was supposed to be the round robin for the Big East Championship. Penn State loses to Illinois. They're beat up front. On the defensive side, P.J. Mustipher, their best defensive lineman, out for the season. 2 other players missed this game. Limited on offense. Sean Clifford is obviously still ailing. 19 of 34 in this game. The run game only gave them 2.1 yards per carry. 23 possessions for Penn State football. 1 touchdown recently. So Penn State falls to Illinois. They go to Ohio State. This is last gasp to try to do anything from a championship point of view for Penn State this year. At number 4, Iowa. Don't forget about the Hawkeyes. Yes, they had the big loss to Purdue by 17 points. Bye week to regroup. Now they go to Wisconsin for the showdown against the Wisconsin Badgers. But they've got to be better on offense. No question about that. 310 yards per game on offense. That's 119th in the country. Iowa's number 4. Our number 3 team is undefeated. Michigan State, 7-0, but they have yet to beat a winning team. Not their fault. That's all they've played. 4-0 in the Big Ten. Their best win, Miami, Nebraska, maybe it's Indiana. I don't know. Peyton Thorne, 15 touchdowns, 4 picks. Kenneth Walker, of course, number 2 in the nation in rushing. Michigan State, Michigan, in East Lansing. Game of the year for Sparty coming up. At number 2, the aforementioned Wolverines of Michigan. They, too, are 7-0. They struggled with Northwestern for a while, but then they started to create the big plays on offense. 2 100-yard rushers again in Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum. They ripped up the Wildcats in the second half, 33-7. They held Northwestern to 10 first downs and 223 yards of total offense, including a 75-yard touchdown run. Michigan at number 2 in the Big Ten. And the team playing the best football, not the best resume, not like my top 25 that actually makes sense. You folks just wanted me to list best teams in the conference, 1 through 14. And this team, now that they've stepped into conference play, okay, they beat Minnesota a long time ago by 14 points. Nice win. That's the best win for Ohio State right now, winning at Minnesota. Lost to Oregon. But the 3 games since they have re-entered conference play have been astonishing, and they're getting better and better and better. Is Indiana good? No. but Indiana's not losing to teams like Cincinnati and other teams, good teams, Michigan State, 54-7, giving up 44 points in the first half. Ohio State is just rolling, 6 for 9 on third downs. The defense had 14 tackles for loss in just 54 plays. C.J. Stroud, 4 touchdowns, 266 in the air. And also just, Travion Henderson barely had to break a sweat in this one against Indiana. Ohio State's the best team in the Big Ten until proven otherwise. They, of course, have the showdown against Penn State coming up in Columbus on Saturday. Those are our Big Ten rankings. Please hit the like button, share these videos out on social media, and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. We'll see you for the next call-in show. Live streams all week right here at the Voice of College Football. See you next time.